In the 1987 movie called Wall Street, the main character and Wall Street mogul, Gordon Gekko, is asked how much money is enough. And his answer is this: it's not a question of enough, pal. It's a zero-sum game. Some people win and some people lose. Now, whether you know much about the finance industry or not, if you read industry news, you would quickly see that people in my field have a widespread negative reputation for greed, hubris, and an inflated view of their own self-worth. So as one blessed with the opportunity to be a fellow 4 years ago, I of course can't help but contemplate both the beautiful and the broken parts of my industry and how I can be a part of reflecting God's kingdom principles. So before I share how I look at my career, I think it'd be helpful to share how I got here, because my story into finance is a bit like Jonah's to Nineveh, though no fish involved yet. After my first year in college, I had the privilege of spending a couple of months in West Africa. And this was the first time I had seen severe physical poverty, and it jarred me. I couldn't figure out how I was supposed to continue to live in the cushy lifestyle that I did in America in light of the fact that people are dying in Mali every single day for lack of $1 more for food. Now, this reaction isn't all that atypical, but my trip opened my eyes to the fact that money is so powerful and so toxic. The lack of money can destroy people for lack of food and basic necessities, but the excess of money can also destroy people with its powerful, God-like grip on our hearts. So after my trip, I took the first few steps of a path that I continue to try to navigate today. I committed my finances and my career to a lifetime of trying to redeem the twisted way that money and the lack thereof can damage God's world. And I was sure that this meant fighting global poverty. In my entrance essay to the business program at my university, I wrote how I was applying for this major for very different reasons than most. I wanted nothing to do with investment banking, nothing to do with finance. I wanted to get the best business degree I could so that I could run a pretty phenomenal, world-changing nonprofit one day. And this is the song that I preached for the next 3 years, through graduation and even through my fellows program. Through fellows, I learned that God wants to redeem all sectors, but I was still sure that I was supposed to be fighting poverty. Now, at the end of my fellows program, I was trying to navigate which nonprofit to join when God sort of picked me up out of my plan for my life and set me back down on his. Before I knew it, I had a job offer from a hedge fund in Hong Kong. And it was as much of a surprise to me as it was to everyone else, and Dennis Doran at the Trinity Fellows can attest to this. My thought at the time was, not a chance, right? I wanted to work with the poorest of the poor, and these people are literally the richest of the rich. But then I realized God wasn't gonna let me get away with that. Certainly not after having a year as a Trinity Fellow. So I took the job, and for the last 3 years, I have been trying to figure out how in the world God wants me to reflect his kingdom principles in this industry, one that Lord knows needs it. Now, in the next few minutes, I just want to share 3 quick thoughts with you. First, on how I see how my work relates to God's kingdom work, and second, how I see my life as an opportunity to be a microcosmic example of an effort at financial redemption. And lastly, just give a brief bit of encouragement to you all. So first, how I see how my work relates to God's kingdom work. As Kate so eloquently put, we have to see the heart of God in the work that we do. I see now how my job fits so perfectly with the heart of stewardship that God has and that he gave me back in college. Every day, I help people steward what God has given them. My day-to-day responsibilities involve helping ultra-wealthy individuals, pension funds, and endowments invest their money wisely. And I truly believe that God cares about this effort. Since creation, he has constantly been entrusting his people with assets, whether trees in the garden or dollars in our bank accounts. So to toss out the finance sector as a godless place, as many people do, is to miss being a part of something God cares deeply about. I see myself as an agent in my industry, helping to rethink what we do every day in light of God's concept of stewardship. Now, secondly, as Kate also mentioned, calling is comprehensive. It's not just your 9 to 5. Well, I wish mine was 9 to 5. In an industry, I believe God has called me to use my personal life as a microcosmic example at an effort to redeem finances in an industry where people's identity comes from their wealth. Now, for myself, back in college, God gave me a verse that I believe is a theme verse for my life, and it's 2 Corinthians 9:11, and it says this: "You've been made rich in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion." Now, in a sector that typically provides generous monetary compensation and where people are consumed by their wealth, it is my goal and prayer to use my position to reflect Christ's freedom in a place where the addiction of money and things reigns, a place that I know very well personally. As Kate said, we often end up in the places ministering in the places that speak to our brokenness, and I know that addiction all too well. So while stewardship manifests itself differently in different people's lives, I have felt strongly convicted to cap my lifestyle and spend only a certain percentage of what I make and give the rest back to God's work. Now, this is a foreign idea to many people that I work with on a day-to-day basis because they don't yet understand the freedom that comes with Christ and seeing our money and belongings as assets to be stewarded, not things to consume us. The fulfillment these people are so desperately searching for with their lavish lifestyles is actually Christ. And I want my life to be an example of the truth that Christ brings to that. And you know, the beautiful thing is that God has already brought pieces of my story full circle, as I do sort of feel like I get to work every day fighting poverty, as I get to pour my finances back into people who are on the front lines, doing what I thought I would be doing every day. So I just want to encourage you all to be open to wherever God is calling you to be, and to prayerfully consider how you can bring his kingdom principles. Because just in my case, it might not be where you think you're supposed to be, and it may even be in a sector that looked like it abandoned God a long time ago. But God is creative, and he's often unpredictable, so stay on your toes. Thank you.